talking about money in sports, a player from the Celtics, I'm not wearing his jersey, but from the Celtics, just signed one of the biggest contracts right now for NFL NBA players, which is Jaylen Brown. Shout out to Jaylen Brown, because we didn't know where this was going as Celtic fans. He was holding out, got his 5-year contract, $300 and some odd million. Reason why I bring up his contract is for two reasons. First reason is showing the wage gap disparity in the league. When I text you earlier, they were talking about how if you follow basketball, we noticed with this new CBA, because we were just talking about the NFL CBA, with this new CBA, the middle of the salaries are hollowed out. So there used to be something called a mid-level exception, meaning players like Jeff Teague and all those other players could get $10-12 million. Players like Patrick Beverly could get like $8 million. Players like Austin Rivers can get like $10 million. Eric Gordon, those are the type of players. Now it seems like either you're getting a $300 million contract or they're signing you for the vet minimum. I'm telling you right now, I'm saying it here, 4 years early, that's going to be dangerous going down the league, going down the years. You cannot build your roster like that where you just have top heavy $300 million players, $200 million players, and then the rest are minimum contracts. It's going to be a problem for the players. Players, whoever was on that CBA panel for the National Basketball Player Association, I got some stuff right in this new CBA. That's one of the things y'all got wrong. So in 4 years, when this comes up again, y'all need to get back to that table and renegotiate. I love Grant Williams because I think he's the vice president over there and a few other players. But that's one of the things I'm telling you right now. People are like, yo, where did the mid-level money go? You mean to tell me now I'm 28 and I got to sign a $2 million contract when 3 years ago I probably could have got 15?
Yeah.
I'm going to say that again. 3 years ago, like a player like Austin Rivers could have got 15, could have got 12.
Right.
Those players are now getting $2 million contracts on 1 year. That's horrible.
Well, I ain't know that.
So just put that gem out there for future references for our NBA fans. We're going to see how this is going to be hard to sustain teams and build teams moving forward based on the language that was included in the new CBA. That's one angle. Shout out to Jaylen Brown. As a Celtic fan, I've been a Celtic fan since the early 2000s.
Can I cut off? Can I intervene on this?
Go ahead.
You think he deserved that money?
Now you've.
That's what I wanted to know. I'll let you go, but that was the one question I wanted to ask you about that.
Now he gonna put me on a hot seat.
I wanted to ask you about that.
So there's two sides of me. There's the fan side, then there's the business side. You remember how you just named all those TV deals?
Yeah.
So I had to look at it from the business side. With the TV deals and everything that the NBA is getting and these owners making billions of dollars, as much as the fan side of me might say he deserved a little bit less, the business side is saying get all that.
Right.
Get every dime of it because they'll make you expendable.
Yeah.
Like the NFL.
Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, like Isaiah Thomas. The fan side of me is saying two things. I thought even last year when we talked about this that the Celtic window wasn't as big as us as fans was making it. And y'all Celtic fans could hold me to this. Everybody's like, oh, Jason Tatum is 24 and Jaylen Brown. Oh, we got them for 10 years. And I'm like, you might have them for 2 years, especially with this new seat. Well, at least Jaylen Brown.
Right.
But you got a generational talent who's 6'6", who puts his body on the line, who's healthy. I'll say it again, who's healthy. Not Anthony Davis, who just signed 3 years, $168 million, who is healthy, who plays. So if you want to keep this team together, at least that part of it, you had to give him this bag. You come at him with $200 million, he's telling you, bye-bye, I'm going to Dallas. Or I'm going to Miami.
Right.
And I'll be paid over there and be the main person. There's a little side of me that's saying you need to hire a dribbling coach. You better find, as a Celtic fan, this is some constructive criticism. Yeah, you're athletic. Yeah, you can shoot, but you need to hire a dribbling coach because you should not be turning the ball over like that as an all-star level player.
Right.
You should not have the Martin twins come out saying, We already had the game plan. The game plan was to force him left because he can't dribble. Not as an NBA player. They
Right.
should have never came out and said that.
Right.
That was an indictment, you know. But shout out to Jaylen Brown. To answer your question, from a business aspect, yes, and a fan aspect, yes, if you want to keep this together. Because if not, you got to cut the cord and trade him for pieces and first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
So the interesting part of Jaylen Brown getting this contract is people know Jaylen Brown, when he got drafted, they called him the smart player, which fed into a stereotype is he going to be good in basketball? You know, he went out to the big school in California. They didn't even know where this was going. So people know he's Muslim. Shout out to him. He travels. He networks with people. He was out there with Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, you know, talking behind the scenes. And so they asked him, what do you plan to do with this money? You know, like they got to ask us, well, we're going to buy Benzes and cars with our money and stuff like that. And he talked about the racial wealth gap in Boston. So before he talked about it, I already heard about the wealth gap in Boston, like the wage disparity. So wealth in Boston, you can pull up an article, it will tell you that between black families, and you're going to think I'm making this up, it's like $8. Compared to non-black families, it's like, I want to say over 50,000. So the racial wealth gap, I got to say this right because I have a little list. The racial wealth gap in Boston for black families is $8. I'm not capping, $8 versus non-black families is over 50,000. Now there's a difference between salary and wealth. They're talking about your accumulation of assets, meaning black families are barely surviving in Boston versus non-black families who have at least a median wealth of 50 to 80 or 100,000 based on homes and stuff like that. So he talked about contributing to programs in the Boston, Massachusetts area that can at least stimulate the economy and make programs for black people.
Right.
Now, I find that interesting because we're in interesting times where that isn't looked too fondly upon. Like people are trying to find a way to flip that and say, oh, well, you have to make it inclusive for all people. What are your thoughts on him saying specifically that, and specifically he wanted to create Black Wall Street in Boston?
I love it. I think that this is what we should have been doing before. But nobody was having the conversations. Like J.R. Smith was saying, he's like, yo, we ain't having these conversations. We ain't been at these conversations. That's it. It's you put your boys on, which we will all be guilty of doing it. Like Iverson did that. What if Iverson took that money and went back to his neighborhood and started businesses instead of buying that iced out diamond bracelet? What if him and Vic went back to their neighborhood and started business company and started Bad News and made it good news? You get what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm glad that I'm gonna believe it until he shows me not. Like that's the statements you should be making. These are the conversations you should be making. I'm wondering how, because I know LeBron is trying, at least with his crew, they have changed the game. I'm just wondering how and why all these players in the league, especially this new TV deal and getting all this money, they're not having these conversations.
I made a statement on TikTok is that these new age players, at least in basketball, I'm not talking about football, but at least in the NBA, are going to reach $500 million in net worth before they're 35. Jaylen Brown, before this contract, he was on a $100 million contract before. So already in NBA money at the age of 25, I think he turns 26 this year, he's going to be within contract made $400,000 by the time this contract is over when he's 30 years old. $400 million. Then he's going to re-sign again, meaning by the time he's 31, 32, he's going to make upward to $600 million.
Wow. That's
just Jaylen Brown. We ain't talking about Nikola Jokic, Steph Curry, the newer players under LaMelo Ball just signed for $200-something million. He's 21 years old.
I hope
he's going to get another contract by the time he's 27 for $300 million.
Is Tatum
Tatum contract is up next year. He's going to be making $350 million.
I hope him and Brown have a conversation.
Because now that's two players on the team that's going to be worth $500 million.
Yeah.
That's the new contract model for the NBA. So in saying that, going back to your point, for all the people that want to impact their community, I'm not telling you to just hire anybody and throw money up in the air.
Yeah.
But if you want to impact your neighborhood, your communities of where you come from, we can now finally say we have the resources to build schools, create jobs, and create industries with that type of money.
Facts.
Maybe not 20 years ago, but now you got a $300 million contract and you're not even 27 years old.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the players out there getting it, how they getting it. Hope I see more Jaylen Brown type mindsets.
Yeah. Facts.
Because if that's the case, we're into something interesting moving forward. And like I said, we'll monitor it, and if it's good, we'll talk about it. And if it's not, we'll criticize it.
Yeah. Facts.
Now the last